Yes, 4 hands, 2 princes, and a piano. It's a photo session at Kensington Palace with the Prince and Princess of Wales and family.
I can't do a bit louder.
Of course you can.
I can't.
They think they're doing fine for the photographer Tim Graham, but let's get ready for a better shot.
If you do that again, do you think?
What do you say?
One more kiss.
One more kiss, please. Steady.
Go.
You didn't mean to do it.
Hurry. Hurry.
From father, a young pianist needs a cue on where to look.
William.
Really? Right. Oh, right. Henry's standing there's fine.
See.
In the drawing room at Kensington Palace, the Prince and Princess of Wales talk together about their life and work, their causes and interests and bugbears, and their family. It's quite a family time. Prince William's just off to school. Your Royal Highnesses, everybody thought Prince William did terribly well when he set off to school, and you said to him, wave everyone goodbye, and then he just went away. Were you a little sad at that moment?
Well, I was, because it's opening another chapter in my life, and certainly William's, but he's ready for it. He's a very independent child. He's surrounded by a tremendous amount of grown-ups, so his conversation's very forthright. And as you saw, he's more than happy to go down those steps and join the other children. We do see a lot of children. There's always this myth that William, being who he is, hardly ever sees a child, but I have 2 sisters that have 5 children between them. And I have lots of friends who have children as well, so we get around.
And he really does enjoy it. I mean, what did he say to you that first day when he came home?
Well, he was just so excited by it all, and there was a tremendous spurt of conversation. If you could understand that, you could understand anything. He's trying to get it all out. But he just adores other children, and very much an organiser, which probably might be helpful in future years. But he really loved it.
Does he organise himself? Is he?
Oh yes, he so organised that day that he chose his shorts and shirt. And it's best to put him in that if you want him to smile at the cameras. No, he's very happy to do that.
And do you find already that Prince William has a will of his own?
Well, he certainly does. I mean, he's a typical 3-year-old, because I work with 3-year-olds, and very enthusiastic about things, pushes himself right into it. He's not at all shy, and very polite, extraordinary enough. Where else, perhaps Harry is more quieter and just watches. Whether he copies William, we wait and see, but he's certainly a different character altogether.
The world sees your partnership, the Prince and Princess of Wales, as a unique job. But what do you think the nature of your job really is?
Well, the difficulty is, of course, that I dare say other people may think differently from what we do. But I think the first and most important thing, really, is that it's not so much a job as a way of life. I think this is the essential feature of the whole thing. And I mean, I frequently read things saying, why doesn't he get a proper job, or something like that. And I honestly, personally believe that the whole way of one's life is part of the job. And one of the important things, I think, is that it is more than anything else the fact that one is trying to be ambassadors, I hope both of us, for this country. And the way I think we live our lives, in a sense, is also the role. But again, I don't think one can say too often that the particular position that I find myself in and my wife, there is no actual laid down job or role. And you have to a certain extent, do as you think right and fit. It'd be quite easy to do nothing, in fact. So it's really just the way you feel that things should be done. And above all else, I think the important thing is to serve this country and its people and the Commonwealth.
But I do notice that one of your increasing interests seems to be jobs for young people and getting young people a start in a business life.
Very much so, yes. I've been very much involved in this, really, I think, since those rather dreadful rats in Toxteth and elsewhere in 1981, which is the year we were getting married. And I thought rather seriously about things then and got together some of the people in my trusts, and we worked out a scheme, because I felt very strongly that we ought to try and find a way of enabling young people in rather deprived parts of the country, in inner city areas and so on, to actually start their own enterprises, because I believe that there is a great deal of talent which lies underutilized. And with a grant of about £1,000, it's amazing what can be started. I went to give the thousandth of these grants to one of these young people from London. He seemed extremely well organized and had started a carpet and mattress cleaning business. And we'll know where to come if we need our carpets cleaned. He's done a lot of, obviously, very cunning market research, because he discovered that by calling it the first national cleaning company or something, that it gets at the top of the list of the Yellow Pages. If you have a number like first, and it goes right to the top. So it's the first one you look at.
But ma'am, when you go out on your engagements, launching things and lunching people and so on, it is a great responsibility, but what do you feel your role is? What is your contribution?
I feel my role is supporting my husband, and whenever I can, and always being behind him, encouraging, and also, most important thing, being a mother and a wife. And that's what I try to achieve. Whether I do is another thing, but I did try.
But you are developing your own interests and your own specialization.
Yes, but that's taking time, because I don't want to dive into something without being able to follow it up. Nothing would upset me more than just being a name on a top of a piece of paper and not showing any interest at all. Hopefully the organisations I'm involved with see me 2 or 3 times a year, if the times, you know, I can do it, I can fit it in. I just would long to help in all sorts of areas.
Now, when you go out and see your charities and see the good causes, you were struck first by the hospices, weren't you?
Yes.
What particularly, when you first went into one, what did you sense about it?
I'd always been led to believe that it was possibly an unhappy place, because patients went in there and not always did they come out. So it was fascination on one side and concern on the other. And certainly after I'd been around the first ward, I remember it so vividly. I was struck by the calmness coming out of the patients in their bed. And most of them will have gone by now, obviously. And it was confronting their illness. They were so brave about it and made me feel so humble. I feel underdressed. No, I don't. You sit down. Is this for me? Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Nice to see you in the flesh.
In the flesh?
Mm. Well, you know,
Don't look too near, you might get a shock.
I've seen enough photos of you.
I know, there's too many of those.
Sold in the shop downstairs.
Well, how much do you sell them for?
£3.10 that one's going for.
Is that all?
Nurses bought it.
Under pressure. So a lot of hard work goes into it. I mean, how long does it take to make
Well,
something
I really
like
don't
this?
know. It's, I do the teddies as well. you know, toy teddies. I haven't got one to show you. They're all sold.
They go, well, it shows what a success
And
they
I
are.
can't keep coping.
No, it's a great demand.
Yes.
So I can knit a dishcloth only because it's square.
Oh.
You can't go wrong.
No. They tidied me up today.
They got you up at dawn. I know, I'm sorry
Yes.
about that.
Oh no, it's been lovely. It's lovely seeing you.
And how are you feeling?
Oh, I feel fine, thank you. Yes. I'm much better than when I first came.
Look at this. What's your betting slips?
Yeah, they're my better slips.
Since I've never seen one, can you explain them to me?
Oh, we just have a bet on them, mate.
Oh,
Really?
that really
Bet on 'em. I bet you've seen one, I bet you've seen one. Yeah, yeah.
I'm not going to say. No.
Right.
Will you tell me?
I'll be
Right,
just
you
this
can
signer
make
down there. Just,
Is that your writing?
Yeah, yeah.
And then someone takes that off?
Yeah, so somebody just, I just do that into the betting slip, into them, and they just put it
Is
on
that
the
this
thing.
afternoon's
Yeah,
race?
yeah.
Maybe the princess will get you a winner.
Yeah, give me a winner today. Well,
What about the 3:15?
yeah, do.
Oh look, Charles Duke. Let's grab that one. There you are.
do.
Number 14. It's very apt, my husband, all right?
Yeah, I know. Right, do.
You let me know.
He don't win, I don't punch him in the ear hole.
This is an institution which is developing in this country, and you feel it deserves more support.
I think the word institution makes it sound like a hospital with long corridors. It's not at all. The atmosphere itself is a very welcoming one, homely, and giving the person who perhaps has 4 hours to live or 3 weeks to live the best possible feeling of security and understanding in the situation that they can possibly give.
And also Dr. Bernardo's with mentally handicapped children.
You see, I've got 2 very healthy, strong boys, and it's not always the case with the families I'm meeting through Dr. Bernardo's, and I realise how incredibly lucky I am. And I don't know how I could cope if I had a child that was handicapped or mentally handicapped in some way. So for me, I'm going out there to meet these children, and I'm learning all the time and trying to understand, trying desperately to understand how they cope.
Well, Gareth's 19, nearly 19. He's a bit drowsy this morning. He was ill yesterday.
Does he go up and down? Some
Yeah.
days are good days, some days.
He had a fit yesterday and he had to go into hospital for a short while and then he was allowed home.
And when he has a fit, do you know how to cope with it? Have you been taught how to?
Yes. Give him rectal Valium. But he was at school, so he had to go to hospital. They don't do that. So he had to have intravenous injection then.
He's fine now.
But he's just a bit groggy this morning.
And do they happen quite often?
No, the lengthening now, the periods of him having them. But he usually did have to go into hospital every time until this new invention came, this new rectal Valium was introduced.
You've also taken up the deaf,
Yes.
and you're learning the deaf and dumb sign language.
Well, I'm trying. I'm pretty hopeless at that, but I think it's important to show them that you're interested and you're not just breezing in and out, having seen them for a morning. I've got all my senses, and they haven't. They're missing 1 or 2, and I'm learning how they adapt, or if they've been deaf and dumb since birth, how they cope, and how they deal with the outside world, who don't always want to know about them, perhaps.
And do you practice the language? Does the prince help you with your lessons?
I don't know if you'd understand.
Now, I know one, and that's
That.
H.
H.
And you know why? Because when I had my tonsils out when I was very small, I had a night nurse who was called Sister Hicks. She always used to come in and say, Sister Hicks. So I always remember that. But it doesn't get me very far, I'm afraid, in my conversations with the deaf. Still. But I shall look forward to her teaching me.
Thank you.
She says I'm deaf anyway.
Well, now, 2 questions that everybody will want to have answered. What do you say, ma'am, when you read in the papers that you are a determined, domineering woman?
I don't always read that. I'm people very willing to tell me that. But I don't think I am. I'm a perfectionist with myself, but not necessarily with everybody else. And those stories arose a long time ago and have kept coming out again and again. But I don't think I am.
You feel hurt by them?
Well, obviously one does. You feel very wounded, and if it comes out, you think, oh gosh, I don't want to go out and do my engagement this morning. Nobody wants to see me. Help, panic. But you've got to push yourself out and remember that some people hopefully won't believe everything they read about you, because there's far too much about me in the newspapers, far too much. It horrifies me when there's something more important, like what goes on in a hospice, or there's been a bomb or something. They'll put me on the front page.
But there is a natural and continuing interest in you. For example, have you actually tried to change Prince Charles in any way since you got married?
Not at all. I mean, obviously the one or two things, like maybe the odd tie or something, but nothing. Shoes. We won't go any further. But but nothing dramatic.
Well, would you say that you had many common interests? Would you say you had many mutual friends?
Yes, we do. But obviously there's not always the time, especially in a weekday, to see them. And I sometimes have my friends to lunch if my husband's out, or we have people to dinner whenever we can. But my husband goes to a lot of dinners where the wives aren't required, so we can't always find a date to suit both of us. But I enjoy polo enormously. I mean, I go to as many matches as I can. So the myth about me hating it is really got out of control. And other things that he does, the opera and things.
Now, the other question is about the Prince and vegetarianism. Is that true, sir? Are you a vegetarian now?
I know I'm not a complete vegetarian, no, but I think I started to examine the things I ate slightly more carefully than I had done before, and became slightly more conscious of what I was eating, which I hadn't done. And I actually now don't eat as much meat as I used to. I eat more fish. But the point I think is very important about this is that the extraordinary thing that, in a sense, one should be accused of being in any way interested in vegetarianism, because if you only ate meat and no vegetables, nobody would complain at all, which always seems to me rather illogical. But if somebody only eats vegetables or whatever and doesn't eat meat, then all hell seems to break loose. I've never quite understood this. I think the important thing, if you are going to change your diet in any way, is to make sure that it is adequately balanced. And in order to do that, you must either get proper advice or read the proper books and so on, because if you do it wrongly, you don't get the right intake. And I actually find I feel better if I don't eat as much meat.
But it depends what you call a vegetarian. I mean, you can be a vegetarian that doesn't eat fish, milk, cream, eggs. But you eat all those things. It's just perhaps not as much meat as people would expect.
Are you thinking of following in his footsteps?
No, it's always been my own idea. I mean, I prefer fish than I do meat. But it's, I don't think I'm going dotty.
It doesn't cause any problems in the family. The children like what they get.
No, I mean, they can eat what they like.
Of course, some people say that you're so slim, you probably don't eat enough anyway.
Mm. When we go on an engagement, if it's a lunchtime one, we often have a buffet lunch so we can get around the enormous amount of people there sometimes are. So it's impossible to talk and eat at the same time. So you end up chasing a bit of chicken around the plate and are never getting anything yourself. And by the time you get home, certainly there's no time, you're rushing off somewhere else. But I'm never on what's called a diet. Maybe I'm so scrawny, it's because I take so much exercise. I don't know.
And you keep up your swimming, do you?
Yes, I swim every day, sometimes twice a day, if I've got the time.
And do you have time to keep up your dancing? You're
Yeah.
always interested in that.
I actually wanted to be a dancer, but I overshot the height by a long way. I couldn't imagine some man trying to lift me up above his arms, but I do it once a week if I can, and it's a combination of tap, jazz and ballet. And I really enjoy it enormously, and I think it's vital to switch off for 1 or 2 hours every week.
Now, do you have any sense of living in a state of rivalry with Princess Anne, as is said time and time and time again?
None at all. Princess Anne's been working incredibly hard for Save the Children Fund, and I'm her biggest fan, because what she crams into a day I could never achieve. And we've always hit it off very well, and I just think she's marvellous. And the story arose, obviously, because she wasn't chosen perhaps as a godmother for Harry, which had our child been a girl, the possibility was there. But Harry arrived, so we went to a man.
Do you think sometimes that newspapers, as is the way of life, build people up and then just as quickly knock them down?
Well, they do, but there again, it's their job, isn't it, really? I came in on the scene and I apparently could do no wrong, but it's quite interesting to see the niggly things that go on now that I apparently perhaps could be doing wrong. And I'm sure, I'm not asking to be perfect, I'm far from it, but I just like the chance and opportunity to get involved in my various areas that I've chosen without people talking about being a shopaholic or something. That's not important.
But it is true, if I may say, that this question of building people up onto a pedestal, the moment that happens, along comes a separate brigade that, like knocking you off a pedestal. I mean, it's human nature, I suppose. So from that point of view, it's absolutely true what you say, I think, isn't it?
Well, on your pedestal, sir, there are people who say that some of your interests, say like alternative medicine, are mildly eccentric.
I think I'm becoming more eccentric as I get older, probably. Well, clearly, something like, I prefer to call it complementary medicine, can easily be considered by people who don't think that it has any relevance at all as eccentric. I can understand that. But all I am concerned about is that complementary medicine or other ways of looking at the person, in other words, looking at the person not so much as a machine, but as a whole person, in the classic, ancient sense, is very important, and I don't think we should forget this aspect. And I also feel that there are certain aspects of complementary forms of medicine which can have a great deal of value and effect for certain ailments. And all I am making a plea for is a slightly more open-minded approach to this sort of thing than to just shut it off and say it doesn't exist, because there are plenty of cases, and for hundreds and hundreds of years, thousands of years, where such forms of medical treatment have worked. There's no doubt about it. But again, it's very easy to reduce my expressed interest in this area to the level of absurdity. I would just direct people to what I've actually said about it, rather than what I am supposed to have said about it, or supposed to be doing.
Does that extend to your interest in spiritualism, mysticism?
Well, yes, absolutely. Again, it's entirely, I think, I've been riveted by the way in which all this has developed, because I have seen articles shown to me saying that I play with Ouija boards, which I don't even know what they are. Literally, I've never seen one. And and I spend my entire time apparently trying to get in touch with Lord Mountbatten and all sorts of other people. The answer is I don't, nor would I necessarily want to. It all stemmed from, I might as well say it, I might as well emphasize it, because I'm fed up with getting letters from people all the time saying, don't touch the Ouija boards. And which it's bad for your health. And it all started because I happen to be a great admirer of the author, Arthur Koestler, who's a great man, I think, a brilliant writer, and above all else, a scientist, really. And he, as you know, left a bequest in his will. I hope you don't mind me going on about this. Saying that when he committed suicide with his wife, that this money should go to found a chair for the study of parapsychology in a British university. And so I ultimately, as Chancellor of the University of Wales, wrote to the Vice-Chancellor when there was a severe danger of no university taking up this offer and it going to the United States, and said, you know, I urge you to apply for this. It would be a great pity to lose it, because it's an interesting area to study scientifically. And to my amazement, the University Council agreed, made the application. In the end, they weren't successful. It went to Edinburgh University. But there was a certain amount of publicity about the fact that I, suggested this. And it stemmed from that. But what I find so annoying is that that it should be reduced again to this level of total absurdity. I'm not interested in the occult or dabbling in black magic or any of these kind of things, or for that matter, strange sort of forms of mysticism. I am purely interested in being open-minded. I mean, after all, there are so many inventions and things that have happened and been proved scientifically in the past, which everybody totally poo-pooed before they were proven. And I think that it is an area which is worth studying sensibly and within the right scientific bounds.
Now, there is one area where I suspect there is one architect who doesn't think you have an open mind, and that's when you have spoken about the extension to the National Gallery, the carbuncle. Now, is it part of your job to start controversy?
I think so, yes, as long as it's not party political controversy. I mean, I open myself, don't I, to every kind of accusation. I'm only too aware of that, and I don't do it lightly. I take a deep breath, a very deep breath, because I know what's going to happen. It's just that I feel that certain things have to be said, and if you skirt round the issues all the time, how do we ever get anywhere in life? Do you know what I mean? And I just feel that sometimes, not too often, I can throw a rock into a pond and watch the ripples create a certain amount of discussion, hopefully to try and see whether something better can come out of it ultimately. With the architecture side of things, I happen to feel very strongly indeed about our surroundings, and I discovered through a little market research I did before I made that speech, talking to people generally, that a lot of other people who weren't architects, weren't professionals in that area, shared my anxiety about the way in which things were going. And so I plucked up my courage and I sat down and I wrote this speech and I asked people for help and so on. But I have since, as a result, met a large number of architects, and I'm learning a great deal as I go along. I've enjoyed myself enormously following that particular foray. And I've met the architects concerned of the National Gallery extension. And I've had them to dinner here, and we've had some very enjoyable discussions. And I have told them that I totally sympathized with the brief that they had, that it was almost impossible for anybody to produce something reasonable in terms of design out of a brief like that, which required a gallery extension and offices as well. I mean, it's almost impossible. Since that time, funnily enough, the controversy has been, I think, a positively valuable thing, because it's starting people to think again. And the other point I also very much wanted to make was that the actual level of patronage shown in this country towards architects is not good enough, really. In America, they take much more trouble. And I think this is another point that architects have made to me since that speech, that this is an area that, again, needs to be emphasized.
Now, ma'am, a question of clothes and your clothes. So much attention, public attention, is focused on them, and so important to the fashion industry in this country. How much time do you have to give to your clothes?
Not as much as perhaps people think. My clothes are not my priority. I enjoy bright colours, and my husband likes to see me look smart, presentable. And fashion isn't my big thing at all. Obviously, if I'm helping the fashion industry and helping the British side of things, well, that's marvellous. But I never tried to do that. And I do think there's too much emphasis on my clothes.
But going away to Australia and the United States, that must involve quite a bit of work.
Well, it was like when we first went on tour after we got married. I mean, I'd had not the capacity of clothes. I mean, I had to buy endless new things, of course, because I just didn't have them. Because on a tour, you change 3 or 4 times a day. You can, sometimes. And obviously, I had to buy new things, and that was the problem. The arrival of all the new clothes were causing tremendous criticism. But what else could I do? I couldn't go around in a leopard skin something, I don't know. I had to produce something that was decent.
Do you take his advice?
Absolutely, but I mean, I ask him, but if this looks right or that looks right, but the chances of turning up in what he says is absolutely nil.
She asked me, you see, which one do I wear? I said, why did you wear that one?
Okay, and the other
Turns
one.
out it's something else. Why do you ask me?
I don't know.
But
how...
I do, I think it's, you know, I like seeing a lady well-dressed. And it was one of the things I always noticed about her before we got married, was she had, I thought, a very good sense of style and design, which I appreciate, I notice. That was what I like with architecture and buildings. I mean, if you observe, you notice these things. And I mean, she's always dressed very well, I think.
But what do you do about designers? I mean, are they recommended to you, or do you pick up an idea here and there to go to the right person?
When I first arrived, there were a lot of people to help me, and it's now really my own choice. But I can't always wear what I'd like to on engagement because it's just not practical. You'd be amazed what one has to worry about, up from the obvious things like the wind, because there's always a gale wherever we go, and the wind is my enemy, there's no doubt about that. And you've got to put your arm up to get some flowers, so you can't have something too revealing, and you can't have hems too short, because when you bend over, there's 6 children looking at your skirt, and it goes on like that. You've got to be, clothes are for the job. They've got to be practical, and sometimes I can be a little outrageous, which is quite nice, sometimes.
Now, you say you're not all that keen on going shopping, but you do like shopping. Is that to get ideas?
It is, but I don't necessarily go out shopping to find clothes. Clothes, as I said, is not my priority. I go out to buy personal presents, I go out to buy my children's clothes, and it's all normal things that a lot of women do, and I used to do it, so why do I have to stop it now, unless obviously it gets complicated, the interest.
But does it get complicated? You can't go shopping now, can you, as you were able to do before you were engaged?
No, certainly not, and nor do I have the time in which to do it. But it helps me to see what's around, not necessarily clothes, but books, all sorts of things. And it's just nice to just keep in touch with everybody, or go out shopping with a girlfriend who wants to buy something and wants me to come along.
But it's a penalty of the job that
Yes.
you can't behave as you used to.
I think that's probably just as well, if you knew how I used to behave.
But did you know what you were taking on in that kind of sense? Not being able to just walk down the street?
No, I didn't.
Did you find it difficult to adapt?
I did, yes. Purely because there was so much attention on me when I first arrived on the scene, and I wanted to get my act together, so to speak. And I had so many people watching me, and the pressure was enormous. But as years go on, it gets better. But you're still learning all the time.
Do you feel, the two of you, that you are in touch with young people, plain young people of your age?
I think you are, darling, aren't you?
Yes.
But I mean, she's younger than me, which is a great thing. By quite a long way, it was very bad luck on her. Because I'm sure it must be absolute hell living with an ancient old thing like me. But, no, I mean, one of the things is that I trust she'll keep me reasonably young in some aspects. But I've had great fun in the last few years. Since the Status Quo, that group, offered the proceeds of their 21st birthday concert to the Prince's Trust. And as a result of that, I've since then met an awful lot of groups, and then together we've met a lot. And it has been the greatest fun meeting a lot of them, and hearing their music, which I must admit I hadn't heard much before. Mainly because, I don't know, there's the time factor and things, and I do like classical music, but I also like some pop music, not all of it by any means.
Do your tastes coincide?
On what?
Pop music.
Well, yes, sometimes, yes. Not always. I mean, some I don't, and you don't necessarily with mine.
Well, I've got a reputation for liking all the people we go to concerts with, but we go and hopefully it's going to raise money for my husband's charities. But we are great, both of us love classical music and the opera and the ballet and go whenever we can to see it.
And you're pretty self-reliant when you want to listen to music because you have your own stereo headphones that you take with you.
Yes, I'm a great believer in having music wherever I go, whether it's a headset or a radio or a record player. And it's just a big treat to go out for a walk with music still coming out with me. And I tend to listen to an enormous amount of classical music, whether it's Grieg, Rachmaninoff or Schumann. And all my family, my side of the family, are very music orientated, and that's where I picked it up from. I love it.
And you still play the piano?
Yes, I play that. It's nothing to get excited about by any means, but I really enjoy it. It's very therapeutic. It's lovely.
Now, you both like skiing, and yet every year it has become irregular. You don't appear to hit it off exactly eye to eye on the slopes. What is the secret of this?
Don't we?
You two read papers.
Not if I can help it. I suspect most husbands and wives find that they often have arguments.
But we don't.
No. But occasionally we do, because I mean,
No, we don't.
I'll go on longer sometimes.
Yes, but I'm faster.
There we are. But no, I mean, the other last year, it was really, I think, probably because there was a total misunderstanding. And somebody had tried to arrange something differently to what we'd been told, and that's how the confusion arose there.
Well, there was no confusion on the day of the wedding, and in many, many people's minds around the world, that is the image of the partnership. At what stage, going to the cathedral, actually during the service, at what stage did you get the idea that it was becoming an enormous success so that you could enjoy it?
Enjoy something like that? Oh, God. It's terrifying. Such a long walk up that aisle for a start. No, I'm only teasing. Am I?
But when you came out, when you came out, what did you say?
I really want to know that? I don't know.
I can't remember what I said, I must admit. But all I can say is that I did enjoy it enormously. Partly because I'd always looked forward to organising the whole thing. I found we were carried along on this wave of enormous friendliness and enthusiasm. It was remarkable, and I kept telling myself, anyway, to remember this for as long as I could, because it was such a unique experience.
Even those responses that we noticed didn't come out exactly right. Did you marry the right man?
Well, a full name is quite something to get organised.
And have you really endowed your wife with all your worldly goods, sir?
What did I say? Did I say some of my worldly goods? I don't know.
But that was sheer nervousness.
It'd be great fun to do it again.
That's my father says that the whole time.
And these are great occasions which you take part in, which you know other people enjoy, and yet say when you go abroad, you have to leave the children behind now.
Yes.
Is that a wrench?
Terrible wrench, obviously. But they must have a stable life as much as we can give, and obviously taking them around the world isn't that. But they're very well looked after here. We miss them dreadfully, but we're coming back to them, so.
And coming back is perhaps the best part of the day.
Of course it is, yes. Very much so.
Well, we hope you will have 2 very happy and enjoyable trips. Thank you very much. That's that. Prince William thinks that's quite enough.
Hey! Mind your feet.
Make funny faces over there.
Why should I do this?
And Nanny Barnes brings in Prince Harry for the picture.
Harry. Stand up now. William, take Harry's other hand.
Okay, here we go. That's fine. And
You want to look at him over there?
But you can't control all of the people all of the time.
Come on, Harry, go get him.
can I go back to maybe just the two of you, just for a moment? I think if you'd still be facing the prince for me. That's.
William, show Harry how to play the piano.
Can't play it with him. Go on.
Can't play.
Here we go.
Shall we play it again, Harry?
That's
To
lovely.
try playing the piano.
Right, fine, thank you.
You've
now
got
with
to
the
try
cello
do the
at the piano.
piano.
Sebastian, I need some room.
Okay.
Whoops.
Harry, what are you doing
You go-
over there?
You go and get Harry. Because I can't do it. It's too heavy.
Harry, not
Come on,
yours,
come on.
Harry.
Hey!
So if you turn slightly towards me, I'm just trying to avoid a light in the window behind. Go.
Harry,
on his head.
That's
Harry, don't. He's trying to do my hand off. Harry, stop doing ow. Harry.
Look, sit him on your shoulder.
Harry. Hey! Papa! Look!
He's got you. Be careful. Don't put it too hard.
Harry!
Now look.
Don't move.
what's that, William? So,
Go on, take
a
another.
bus, is it? Oh, what's that?
The car.
Is that a present?
No, a car.
Knock, knock.
Under the tablecloth, someone won't stir.
Let's quickly. Ready? I'll show you something.
Harry, go find him.
Harry, Harry, look.
Oh, she wants some. Ask if you can have some powder. And then
What's the car?
Doing some powder.
it's just
Doing some powder.
Now, Mother may need a little powder for her picture. Better test it first.
Quickly. Look. Bring it over here.
Do you know they're taking pictures out in the rain too?
Only a little bit.
No, it's not.
Yes, look.
No, it's not.
Look.
Do you want to sit?
Really?
Sit in?
Yeah.
Did you want William
Yes.
to sit here as well?
Yes, I'd like that if I could. What I'd quite like to do is